Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan, and it's my platform where I do fight sports related content. If you're new here, why don't you help me grow my platform? All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, and maybe hit that bell icon to get notified every time I upload a video. With that said, in this video I'll be breaking down the upcoming main event between Whittaker and Darren. It's a very important fight for both these gentlemen. It's one of the fights that I've been most looking forward to in recent months. It's very important for Whittaker because he's coming off a brutal loss to Israel Adesanya where he lost his championship belt. And what's more interesting for Whittaker is that he hasn't really picked up a win since he beat Yoel Romero in that war in September 2017. Now I know what you're thinking, well, he beat Yoel Romero again in 2018. Yes, he technically did, but actually that's a very controversial loss, and a lot of people gave that fight to Yoel Romero, myself included, and I think Yoel Romero should have probably walked away with the win that night. So with that said and that in consideration, he hasn't really picked up a clean win since September 2017. He's coming off a brutal loss to Israel Adesanya, and he's got a really tough opponent in front of him. For Darren, he came up to middleweight to rebound from two brutal losses. A lot of people didn't give him much chance against Kelvin Gastelum, except for your boy who picked him to beat Kelvin Gastelum, and that's a really important win for him because Kelvin Gastelum had just gone through a war with Israel Adesanya, and actually Darren had a much easier time with Kelvin Gastelum. It weren't as exciting a fight, but he had an easier time, if that makes sense. Darren, of course, is showing that he maybe should have been a middleweight all along, but he is another guy who really does need to get this win, because if he loses this fight here, he'll be 1-3 in his last four. Of course, those two tough losses to Tyron Woodley and Jorge Masvidal really slowed down this hype train. But for Darren, if he wins here, I think he's in line for a shot at the belt. Obviously, having beaten Kelvin Gastelum, if you beat Kelvin Gastelum and Whittaker, you've probably got only a title fight to go to at 185. So it's a very important fight, and both guys that I'm a huge fan of. So without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. Both of these guys are time-tested and rugged veterans, but they're still really young men. Whittaker is still only 29 years old. Now, there's a thought process that after two Yoel Romero fights, his best years are behind him. I'm not so sure. I think this fight's going to be very indicative to see where Whittaker is at this point in his career. I think the fight with Israel Adesanya, you can probably say, there was a poor game plan there, some ring rust coming into that fight. There was a lot of questions. This fight is going to be very important to see what Whittaker has left to give after those two absolute wars with Yoel Romero. Darren is still only 27 years old. Of course, he's had those two tough losses as well, which I just mentioned. But that's not to say that his best years aren't ahead of him. You can have tough losses and rebuild, and it looks like he's rebuilding. He's got that crazy Instagram stuff going, so he's starting to get a lot of traction going, and it's quite funny, really. But yeah, these are both two young men. It's going to be interesting to see where they are in their careers, respectively. Whittaker has a professional mixed martial arts record of 20 wins and 5 losses. He's had 25 fights, world championships fights thrown in. He won tough smashes, so he's been around for a long time. Many main events. He's been in the UFC for a while. He's won world championships. This is an experienced fighter who's going to have no issue with dealing with the main event slot. As is Darren, really. He's got a professional record of 18 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. But he's main evented at home in hometowns. He's main evented over in foreign countries. He's fought for a world title, headline pay-per-views. He's been a star for a long time now, and this isn't a guy who's going to struggle with the main event spotlight as well. These are two very comfortable fighters, and it's a really good fight. Whittaker stands at 6 foot tall, which is the same as Darren, but Darren will enjoy a 1.5 inch reach advantage over Whittaker with a 74.5 inch reach, with Whittaker having a 73 inch reach. Actually, I think Whittaker has a 73.5 inch reach, so it's a 1 inch reach advantage. But that's still significant when you consider the stylistic matchup that is proposed here. Now, to describe their styles, Whittaker, I would say he's a striker as well, but as you saw in his last fight, he's more of an explosive, bouncy striker. He likes to stay on the balls of his feet and explode in with the strikes, kind of like Kelvin Gastelum does, which is why that fight would have been so fun. But he likes to really, stay on the outside, bounce in, come in with the head kicks, and he isn't like the traditional kickboxer or Muay Thai fighter, and that's where Darren really is. Darren keeps his hands quite low more recently, though, which is really interesting. But Darren a Muay Thai striker, has got good leg kicks. I think he's got good boxing as well. He carries big power in those hands. What I find interesting over recent years is that he's kind of started to adopt a more karate side-on stance where he keeps his hands a bit lower. I don't know that necessarily suits his style, but I think in his last fight he made some good strides in the right directions to start fighting more defensively and stop eating so many shots. I think Darren is a very talented young man, and I think he's got a long way to go. So I think to describe both their styles in a nutshell is that they're both strikers, but obviously that doesn't tell the full story of the stylistic matchup proposed. To look at some of the key wins, obviously for Robert Whittaker, his best times come at middleweight, where he's beaten the likes of Derek Brunson, Uriah Hall, Jacare Souza, Yoel Romero twice, as mentioned, and he's been in there with some of the best fighters, all the way going down to his time at welterweight. At welterweight is where Darren Till done some of his best work, beating the likes of Donald Cerrone. He beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and at 185 he's come up and he's beat Kelvin Gastelum, which is an important win as well. So both of these guys are very, very proven coming into this main event fight. The biggest issue for Robert Whittaker is going to be mental state. Where is he? Where his body after those wars with Yoel Romero, the loss to Israel Adesanya, where and tear, how's that going to impact him? And for Darren Till, the biggest issue is going to be it was kind of predictable what Darren Till wants to do. He's not going to come out there. He's not going to try to grapple with you. Really, more recently, he's almost become more of a boxer. So what's his game plan coming into this fight? Is it just going to be come out there, throw hands with his hands kind of low? That's not a good game plan, if you ask me. But it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, how he fights, and how this one plays out. And I think that's going to be his biggest issue, really. The X factor for Robert Whittaker is going to be, experience at 185. He's adjusted to fighting at 185. He's adjusted to fighting 185-pound fighters. He's been in there with the likes of Yoel Romero, as I mentioned, who's a big 185er. Jacare Souza, who's a big 185er. Whereas Darren Till's only been in there with Kelvin Gastelum, who, if he was, if he had his diet in order and he was more strict with his nutrition, will probably still be a 170 fighter. So this is the first time Darren Till's fighting a true 185er, and he's fighting a former world championship 185er. The biggest X factor for Darren Till is going to be his precise stand-up. I think if Darren Till turns up and he's the best version of himself, he's probably the best striker in the division. I include Israel Adesanya. I know that's high praise, but I think a lot of Darren Till's stand-up abilities, and that's really where Darren Till's biggest X factor is going to be, is how he shows up and how he utilises his stand-up. Let's get into the prediction. So in my opinion, this fight will definitely play out on the feet. On the feet, I think Darren Till enjoys a decisive advantage when it comes to boxing, in particular kicks. I think it's a lot more even. I think Robert Whittaker maybe has a little more firepower than Darren Till, and I think his explosive striking and his springy style makes him a little more unpredictable. But I think where all things, if they're almost even, where it's not even, is the boxing. I think Darren Till is a much better boxer than Robert Whittaker, and I think that's where he's going to shine. I think what we're going to see is Darren Till come out there and start putting pressure on Robert Whittaker. And Robert Whittaker has been in so many wars. I don't think he has it in him to go through another war. I think that Darren Till was going to put the pressure on Robert Whittaker, and he's going to find a lot of success with his boxing. I don't know if that he will put Robert Whittaker away, but I think he's going to give Robert Whittaker a lot of trouble early in this fight. As the fight wears on, I think we'll start to see Robert Whittaker start to make a comeback and start to do a lot better in this fight, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Darren Till's going to do a lot of damage with his boxing, if I'm honest with this one. I think he's going to do a lot of damage with his boxing. I think he's going to do a lot of damage with his leg kicks. His leg kicks is something that Robert Whittaker hasn't really done so well against. If you think back to Robert Whittaker's fight with the likes of Rafael Natal, who's really nothing to write home about. He was a credible vet and a talented fighter, but he weren't the caliber of Darren Till or any world championship fighter. And no one's really utilised leg kicks against Robert Whittaker since Rafael Natal, and I think Darren Till will utilise a lot of leg kicks. And I think Robert Whittaker's going to struggle. Am I biased in this one? Now, obviously, I'm a Brit, and Darren Till's a Brit. Maybe I am a little bit biased. I have to be honest here, because I'm a huge Darren Till fan, and I think a lot of him. I think he's got a really high roof. But I'm a huge Robert Whittaker fan as well. It's not to say I'm not a huge Robert Whittaker fan. I really enjoy his fights. I've always been a fan of the way he handles himself. So this is kind of bittersweet for me. But fight fans, for my official prediction, I'm going to predict that Darren Till does a lot of damage with his boxing and his leg kicks, and he's able to get a unanimous decision in this one. I think Robert Whittaker can win this one. Do I think he will? No, I don't necessarily. But it's a dangerous fight, and if Robert Whittaker catches Darren Till slipping with his hands down, he will connect, and if he connects hard enough, he will finish Darren Till. And we've seen Darren Till being dropped by Tyron Woodley and knocked out by Jorge Masvidal, so he's got to be very, very careful in this fight. But for my official prediction, fight fans, I'm going with Darren Till for the unanimous decision. Anyways, guys, why don't you guys comment below? Let me know how you see the fight going. Let me know what you thought about my breakdown, and tell me if you think I'm honestly being too biased towards Darren Till and his abilities. Be very interested to know you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I'm Rohan, and this is Mindforcombat.